Hi, my name is Mark Rogers. I'm the Managing Director of Intagulf Free Zone Company based here in Jebel Ali in Dubai. We are a diplomatic supply company, so we trade under the name IDS, which is International Diplomatic Supplies, and we supply embassies and consulates around the world with duty-free goods. Well, if we go from the past, we started as one person in one little office back in 2002, so 20 years ago. And we then moved in 2006 into a couple of units. They called them the Blue Sheds. It's quite small compared to this. Then we eventually had 3, then 4, then up to 6 units. And we realized what we should be doing is having our own facility for further growth. So we built this current facility I'm sat in 4 years ago, which has 3,000 square meters of air-conditioned space with the ability for another 3,000 square meters. So that's taken us on that journey now up to where we're sitting now, looking at where we can grow coming out of Dubai. Well, I think if you're going to have a business in this part of the world, there's only really one city you want to be in, and it's Dubai. And it's really because you've got the best communication links, you've got people like Emirates and now Air Arabia flying in all around the world. You get, Dubai attracts the best people. So we have a fantastic workforce who are really hard working and dedicated and absolutely give their all for this business. You're in a tax-free environment which attracts a lot of investment and a lot of people. And if you're going to be in Dubai, there's only one trade zone to be in Dubai, which is Jafza, if you're actually going to move any goods. So right at the beginning, I'd been in Dubai for 8 years working before I started the company. And in my mind, back in 2001, 2002, there's only one place to be, and that was in Jafza. So that's why we set up here, and I'm very glad we did. We've been through huge changes, really. If you think in 20 years, we've gone from one person in his office on his own to, I think we have something like 65, 70 people here in Jafza. But we also use this as our global headquarters. So we have a business in Miami, we have a business in London, we have a business in Brussels, and they're all owned by the company in Jafza. Jafza gives you that flexibility to be able to do that. So Dubai still remains the main hub for us. We do about 70% of our business out of Dubai, with the other hubs contributing as well. And they're really for more geographical routes where Dubai and Jafza doesn't cover. But the main thing for Jafza, of course, and Dubai, if you look at where we are in the world, in the top 20 ports in the world, we're the only one between Rotterdam and Singapore in the whole wide world. So if you're going to be anywhere in this part of the world, you've got to be in this Jebel Ali port, which is a fantastic facility. We can see the cranes out of the window. We're, 2 or 3 kilometers away from the loading areas. So you say about how much does Jafza help? It helps because we're within the free zone. Our goods are excisable, but they sit duty-free here. They don't attract VAT yet in the Emirates, which is very helpful and makes life very simple. So we're able to import duty-free, we export duty-free, and the places which the ships go to from Jebel Ali is all across East Africa, all across the Middle East, all across the Indian subcontinent, and right across the far Asia. So we supply now 74 countries in the world from the 4 hubs, but still about 40 or 45 of those countries are supplied from Dubai. That's why we're in Jafza. So also the employment is simpler here. The paperwork is simpler, the visas are simpler. So we now have our main hub here, and we manage and control not only the management, the finance, but also the processes of the other 3 hubs from Dubai, because it's a better place to have the head office than those other 3 countries. We supply wines, beers and spirits principally from here, and from London and Brussels and Miami. We supply food and homeware products, British from London, obviously European from Brussels, and American from Miami. But from Jafza, it's a much more straightforward process just to supply the beers, wines and spirits. So here we're supplying East Africa, the Middle East, Indian subcontinent and Asia, about 40-45 countries. So the main markets really are spread right across that vast area, and it's one of three reasons people will buy them, because in their home country, somewhere like Singapore, the goods are very expensive because there's a very high tax. It might be because wines, beers and spirits aren't allowed in the public domain in those countries because they're banned. And it might be also because in those countries the range and the quality which is available is quite poor. And we find that in some of the African markets and some of the Indian subcontinent markets, and often in Asian countries the wine especially hasn't been looked after properly, so it gets heated, it sits in unair conditioned temperatures, and by the time you drink the wine it's not good quality. So we import in reefer containers, we store under air-conditioned conditions, and in the summer months we export in air-conditioned containers, so the wine especially reaches people in perfect condition. And it reaches them in duty-free pricing, because we're a duty-free hub here. We import and we export without paying the Dubai duty, because we don't take it through the gate where 50% is paid, so we sit on it on duty free, and it works like diplomatic license does from the Geneva Convention, where embassies are allowed to import goods for their own consumption without paying the local duties. And they do this for all sorts of things like televisions, foods, but that also includes beers, wines and spirits. We do supply parts of South Asia. We're in Singapore, we're in Malaysia, we're in Indonesia, in Brunei. We looked 3 years ago or 4 years ago, it was before COVID, to open up in Singapore as a hub. What we realized was it's possibly better to have goods in the source countries in Europe and UK and in America. And if you bring those from source countries directly to Jebel Ali, the shipping routes from Jafza, from Dubai port, is as good really as taking it to Singapore and holding it in Singapore. We felt that holding goods further down route will just add cost to that. So we're supplying, for example, Australian embassies in Asia with Australian wine from Jebel Ali because the connections are so good.